Hey there, seekers of spiritual, tangible results.
Welcome to the No Nonsense Zone, where common sense meets the spiritual. I'm Jason Parks.
I'm Emma Romano, your unapologetically real spiritual guides.
We don't sugarcoat, we don't dance around the woo-woo, we just deliver the raw, kick-ass truth.
Join us each episode as we dive deep into the mystical, cut through the bullshit, and show you how to manifest the tangible results you've been craving for.
No fluff, no filters, just two mentors on a mission to elevate your mind, body and soul.
Get ready to transform your life like never before. This is Soul Aligned Results, where spirituality meets the real world. Welcome everybody, this is Soul Aligned Results podcast with Emma Romano and
Jason Parks.
Hello. Today we're talking about mental models. It's kind of the last podcast we did, we're going off the back of that. And I'm going to go straight into when we're changing our mind about something, we also have to look at the residual behaviors that are attached to the old thought model.
Yeah, massive point.
It's huge.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. What's something that I can give you an example? I'll talk about me with when I was an alcoholic. And so my alcoholism was every night at 5 p.m. I would open up a bottle of wine. I would finish the bottle of wine and then I would eat something really gooey and gross. But there were behaviors that were attached to that were during my day. So there were behaviors like this. Oh, I can't wait for wine o'clock. Oh, if it's good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me. Right? Seriously. If it's good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me. Like, the fairies love wine. I'm a fairy. And these are these little things. I wasn't even drinking, but there were habits for me to accept, for me to have a drink at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So these are little habits during the day. And I would ring somebody with a problem. The bloody kids, the freaking kids. God, the kids are giving me the shits. Oh, don't worry, Darshas. I would always ring the person who would tell me to have a drink of wine.
Yeah, goodness.
Right. So I would ring somebody and they'd be like, oh, babe, just open up a bottle. Oh, thanks, my love. God, now. And I would drink the wine while on the phone. Like, oh, that's better. So these are the behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you stop something and you have a different mental model of something, of I am no longer an alcoholic, I am healthy, I'm fit, I am free. Because when you're an alcoholic, you can't keep telling yourself you're an alcoholic. This is the problem with AA. AA is great, except even 20 years and you've never had a drink, you're still saying, hi, I'm Emma Romano, I'm an alcoholic. It's not true, you're not. Right? Because what'll happen is you'll keep the behaviors of the alcoholic. You may not drink, but you'll still keep the patterns and the habits of when you were a drinker. That's why you'll stay at this stage. So when you're an alcoholic, you might be broke or your relationships may not be great, but you'll stop drinking, but your relationship still won't be great because you're still holding the residual habits that you are holding as an alcoholic and they're sitting in your behaviors with that relationship.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Did I say that right?
Yeah, well, yeah, but let's unpack it a little bit more.
Let's unpack it.
That's a hell of a point that you brought up there.
Yeah.
Because like when we're talking about mental models, like, I mean, one of probably the more formal term for a mental model is a paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
And a paradigm is just a way of thinking. So if I have a paradigm, a basic idea of a paradigm, they kind of, there's different levels of them. So every individual has their own paradigm. And in that case, it may be, I'm an alcoholic. So if you have a mental model that says that that's an important part of your identity, then you will construct your thinking through conscious and subconscious. You will construct that to make that make sense. Because everything that we do in life has to make sense to us. Even if we don't understand it, has to make sense to us. So you might look at it and say, well, it's like, why do I ring up people who will tell me to drink? So, well, that makes sense because I want to have a drink, but I don't really want to own it. So I'll just call this person and they give me permission. I'm all good to go.
Yep.
That's coming through your subconscious, but it's a very logical, very clear set of rules. That's a paradigm. So if you have, we look at people and we often will put them into a box. And in looking at that box, like at the moment, one of the big paradigms that we're seeing in the world is what's been happening in the American political system. You've got this absolute polarity where there are people on the left and people on the right. And then within people on the right, there's all these various levels. But one of them is the MAGA people, the red hats, the diehard Trump supporters. And that's okay if that's your thing. But there's a lot to it that's an identity. So people are into it because they like the identity. Now, if you act upon what you think, you create results. And this is one of the things that's happening at the moment. It's funny because this is about, I don't know, about a month after the election. And there's a little bit of a crisis happening in that part of the world because people are understanding that the person that they voted for is actually going to do what they said they're going to do. And
Mm.
they're going, well, wait a minute. I just thought he was saying that, and he's not really going to do that. And it's like, oh, yes, he is, because he's always done it in the past. And the tariff thing, people are starting to understand what a tariff is that they're going to actually pay more for goods. Well, they're having a freak out about it now. But
Mm.
that's what happens when you have a mental model and you take that mental model as a reality, and then you think reality conforms to it. Now, we all do that. Everybody's got that. Everybody's got biases. Everybody's got things that we take to be true. And they might be true, but they're not necessarily real. So, yeah, you see it a lot with, well, you see it a lot with trauma work. You see it a lot with addiction. You see it a lot with mental health issues. So people, you can talk to somebody and it's true. They have invisible rats running around on their heads
Yeah.
on their head and they cannot sleep. That is absolutely true, but it's not real.
Mm-hmm.
It's something else happening there. So we all have our own version of that. I have
I
to,
agree. I
yeah,
think a lot of people have that with this abundance thing going on. Like, I need more abundance. I need more
oh
abundance. I'm
God,
like,
yeah.
you've got it. We have
Yeah.
so much abundance. Like, people have this thing in their head, I don't have anything. It's not true.
Hmm.
It is bullshit. You've got everything. If you've got a phone, you've got everything. You've got a computer and a phone. You've got connection. It's like people say, I'm lonely. I'm like, you can't be. Why not? Because you're talking to me on a phone.
Yeah.
So if you've got a phone, you are connected to everybody and everything in the world.
Yeah.
It's just this model. It's this mental model that you've got going on in your head that you're lonely and you're just running it on repeat. And you're wanting it to be true, but it's not. It cannot be true.
Hmm.
The only people who are lonely are those people who are completely separated from anybody and don't see anybody or speak to anyone, nothing.
And often in many cases with those people, they move out of loneliness.
Yeah.
They find peace.
Yes, because they go to their deep spirituality.
That's right.
Loneliness is a form of self-lack.
Yeah,
And I
it
think,
is.
and there's a some people, and I remember my grandmother used to say to me sometimes, I'm so lonely. It was such a manipulation.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, what do you want me to do about it? That's what it was. I'm lonely. I'm just going to stay the way I'm staying, and you've got to make sure I'm not lonely. What the fuck? Like, how do I even do that? Like, you do it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's
you
just
get out of
I
it.
need to siphon energy off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. I find people this is just a paradigm. And it's just a decision because you can sit there and go, I'm lonely, or you can just sit there and go, I'm not. It's just a decision. But then,
yeah,
off the back of any decision, as I was saying before, we have to look at the residual behaviors that are attached to that old identity.
yeah, exactly. Well, identity is a little bit different, but it's a really important point because with identity is when we start to take a mental model, which is something that we've created to get through our day, understand our reality. And then what we do is we take that so much of a fact that we can't separate ourselves from it. It is who we are. I'm a this person, I'm a that person.
Mm.
And that identification means that now we are following along from the mental model.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a little bit about what we're seeing. Well, we're seeing this everywhere, but this is the thing that we're seeing in the news about what's happening. They're talking earlier about what's happening in the US. That we're seeing this because people went from having an idea about what they wanted for their country's future direction, and they turned it into identities. And then those identities started waging war on each other. And
Mm.
now you've got this situation where their identity has won, and now the mental model is starting to crack because they're starting to see things that they didn't realize were part of it, and they don't know whether they agree with it. So all these people then have an identity crisis. They start to collapse in on themselves
Mm.
because it's just an idea we're believing in. Who you are is an idea you believe in. That's all it is.
You know, you said something before, and I can't remember if it was in this podcast or the one previously. When we go into a different paradigm or a different thought process or a different, I want to think differently around myself. I want to have a new identity. I'm going to say today is going to be a great day instead of, oh, today I'm going to struggle, whatever it might be. Things from that are not in that frequency. So if I sit here today and go, today's going to be a really great day. I'm
Yeah.
going to have a really brilliant day and have no expectation of how it's going to look or what's going to happen. Just my whole thing is going to be a great day. So even if my house falls down, that's going to be great for me. In some way, it's going to be great. What'll come up to the top is where you're not in aligned with that. It'll be an old trauma, an old thought program, an old whatever. And this is the reason it will come up for you is so that you can get rid of it, right? Because
Yeah.
as Jason said, we're always 100% full. So what the problem of us, what we normally do is we normally go, oh no, it's not working. I said today was going to be a great day. Now all I can think about is when my father hit me when I was 10.
Yeah.
The reason it's there for you to come up is for you to loosen it and let it go.
Yeah.
It's not there to say, see, you don't, aren't going to have a good day. It is there to let go so your day can be even better than what you even thought it could be. Because as we want a good day, if we're 100% full, we've got to leave space in ourselves for that good day. So if by removing that, oh, my dad hit me when I was 10, when we can remove that, I mean, that's pretty big. When we can remove that, your day's going to be really great. And not only today, but the next day as well.
Yeah.
And then in a few days, something else is going to pop up. But people usually give up. That's not
Yeah.
the time to give up. That's the
No.
time to go, oh, this is great.
Yeah. But you've got to do the work in advance. And
Yeah.
I think this is an important point about this stuff is that you have to do the work in advance. If you want success on whatever level that is, you have to set it up. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just walk in and expect that one day it's just going to land on your lap. So that is not how it works. And even though people will talk about miraculous things happening to them, so it's usually a miracle because they don't understand how they set it up.
Yeah,
So
it's true, right? I know.
it's like
It's
they
true.
see a result, but they have no idea what they did that created that result. So the idea of taking control of a paradigm is huge because any of these things, is that if you want to set up your day, um, you just reframe. I think that's human beings have two amazing powers, or one and a subset, right? The ability to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you make decisions, you literally change the manifestation patterns in the universe. So as soon as you make a dedicated decision, you go, yep, I'm completely committed to that. So literally everything in your world starts to change.
Mm.
And as part of that, you have an ability to reframe, which is an incredible power. Everything that happened to you in your life that you perceive as negative, you can reframe it. And you reframe it by changing how you interact with the paradigm. You shape and craft the paradigm. We inherit them because we don't understand and we don't think about them. But when you take active control of a paradigm, that you start to do incredible things. There's a fella who we're going back a long time ago now, an American guy called, I think it's W. Clement Stone. And He was I read some of his books and that. It was great. They were great stuff. He was Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich. He
Mm,
was kind of like a disciple of Napoleon Hill.
hmm.
And Clement Stone's famous for a number of things, but one of the things he's famous for was developing a new mental disorder. And that mental disorder is inverse paranoia. He had trained his paradigm so strongly that doctors couldn't understand it, so they tried to classify it as an illness, that he had an unshaking belief that the entire world was out to help him.
Oh my God, I love that.
So one of the things about we go, well, okay, that's all right, that's delusional. It's like, yeah, it might be delusional. But one of the other things he's famous for was back in the 1950s, 1960s, when he retired, his entire lifetime, he only ever invested $300 of his own money
Mm.
and started basically with nothing. And when he retired at retirement age, he was worth $400 million in the
Whoa.
1960s, 50s, 60s, right? Now that came out because of his inverse paranoia. Is that
Mm,
he constantly was looking for opportunity because he knew what was there. It was
mm.
like, of course. He said, but what about this problem? That's not a problem. That's just an opportunity. And
Love that.
in the energy dynamics, that's huge.
Yeah.
So, yeah, taking control of your paradigm instead of just letting it run is huge. If you decide that your cup's always 100% full, and the moment you want to bring new energy in, it's available to you. However, it's going to create space.
Mm.
So when crap starts to come up through the day, it's like, oh, awesome. This is the stuff that's coming to create space. All I've got to do is let go of it. Right? Just let go of it. And as I let go of it, that new energy is going to come in. If I
Mhm.
do that, my momentum into the areas of my life that I want more of is going to be huge.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. This is
Simple,
so
isn't it?
big. It's so big. It's just, do you know, it is the greatest gift to be able to change your mind.
Yeah,
And we can,
completely.
you
Yeah,
know, and
absolutely.
we all we got to do is be committed to it. Commit
Yeah,
to it. You know, don't give up on it. And just know that every time a bad thought comes up, some sadness comes up or fear comes up, that's just old stuff coming up to create space for the new decision to be made. It's not
yeah,
a time to quit,
yeah. That's right.
you know,
That's the
but
bit where
most
you
people
double
will
down.
quit. Yeah.
Yeah, double
And
down on creating good, allowing
yeah,
good in your life.
yeah, definitely. And there's a great video out. It's this woman. I'm sure she's selling MLMs or something like that, multi-level media stuff, but she does this thing. It's very cool. She's got this jug and she puts in ping pong balls.
Yeah,
And she says, this is trauma, this is old trauma, this is old belief systems, old relationships that didn't work and whatever. And then she pours in clear water. And she pours in the clear water and she pours like she might go halfway and all the ping pong balls race to the top, right? And she goes, this is the old stuff that we need to let go of so we can keep filling with the nice clear water, the clear energy. She goes, but most people, I think it was like 78% of people will quit at this stage.
yeah,
Then she fills it up some more. And the ping pong balls are coming up the top. Of course, they're floating to the top. She goes, again, this is so you can get rid of these. You can heal them and let go of them. So we can have more of the clear water. She goes, but I think it's 40% of people will quit by then, right? And then she pours it right to the top. She goes, most people won't get to here. They've already quit.
yeah,
So I feel that we really need to buckle down and onto our decisions.
yeah.
When you
You,
make a positive decision, go nuts. It's like drinking. People say to me, at 5 years sober, I've not had a drop. Oh, don't you want to drink? Fuck no way. Why would I?
yeah,
But don't you miss it? Not a drop of it. No way do I miss it. Because I don't have a life that I have to be numb from now.
yeah,
And that was the decision. The decision wasn't to stop drinking. The decision was I'm creating a life that I don't ever fucking want to be out of.
yeah,
I don't want to numb myself to it. So that was the decision. The decision wasn't to stop drinking. The
yeah,
decision was I want a life that I don't want to numb out to.
yeah. you make it redundant.
Yeah.
You make your old system redundant.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's nothing that I don't want to, I don't binge eat anymore. I don't drink, I don't take drugs, I don't take anything that numbs me out because I don't, if there's any time where I go, oh, I want to binge eat right now, why? This
Yeah.
part of my life I want to numb out to, well, let's change it. Let's get rid of it. And
But
it's
that's
simple. It's
that,
actually it's easier than you think.
yeah, that's a big part of that's an example right there about setting yourself up for success
Mm,
because you've reframed that. You've made that an important part of your paradigm that when that comes up, you know it's just an indicator that I need to go looking for what needs to be let go of.
exactly right. All it is a diagnostic tool for me.
Yeah.
I do it with gossip. So my big thing is gossip.
Mm.
It's like I hate gossiping. But when I it happened to me the other day and I'm like, oh, so and so. I'm like, oh, hang on, that's gossip.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I wanting to numb out from? I was in Japan and I was like, you know what? I want to work again. But I promised Jack that I wouldn't. I went, that's interesting. So we had this conversation, Jack and I said, there's one thing missing for me in this trip. He goes, what's that? I went, work. And I go, how do you feel about that? He goes, I've actually loved having you to myself for 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
I went, that's good. I said, but to make this really, really perfect for me would have been, I could have still done some of my mentoring groups. Maybe just done two, like 2 hours, like one a week. I said, it really would have nailed it for me because I really, he goes, interesting. So it was very interesting for us.
Mm.
I'm like, there you go. But I wanted to gossip. I was like, oh, what's the news, girls? What's the goss, girls? And I was even going to put in the text message, what's the gossip?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, we don't gossip. Like this bunch of girls, we don't gossip. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, there you go. So I just had to have a little deep dive and go, okay, have a little look at it, little conversation about it. And it was all perfect.
Yeah.
It's
It's
interesting.
it's beautiful. It's so interesting because that's it's probably something we'll talk about at another time, but about vices. So
Mm,
because there's a question that you asked earlier, and it was like, who would I be without drinking?
mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, that's the $1 million question.
Yep.
Who would you be without this particular behavior that keeps you contained in your current box, your current paradigm? If you were to
Yep.
let that go, who would you be? And the answer is almost always so much more.
Every time I
Every
created
time.
this process called Timeline Reset, 7 years ago, and Timeline Reset is the one process that I take every client through all the time.
Yep.
And there's a question in it. When I take someone through the process, we go through all negative emotions and limiting beliefs. And every question is, who are you without? And it could
Yeah.
be the anger. Like if you're 55, who are you without 55 years of negative anger? Because there's
Yeah.
positive anger and there's toxic anger, right? Positive anger is if I go to your house and just kick your dog, you're going to go, what the fuck, Emma? That's positive anger as a boundary.
Yeah.
But if you're driving and someone cuts you off and you want to get out of the car and kill them, it's definitely negative anger.
Yeah.
And we want to get rid of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave it there now. And we will see you next session. Thank you everyone for listening. Please jump onto our website. It's solidlineresults.com. Jump on there. You can always arrange a chat with us. We've got things you can purchase on there, master classes that we've done in the past. We've always got a masterclass coming up. I'm not sure this will come out or not, but we do have a retreat coming up in February. I don't know if this will come out in time, but we've always got something going on, and we really invite you into the space. Please contact us, private message or email, whatever. We'd love to hear from you, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. See you later. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.